I'll go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. McLean, can you take roll call, please?
Yes, I will do that for you, sir. Member Castleman.
Present.
Member Capola. Absent. Member Eastwood.
Present.
Member Haddock.
Present.
Member Harris.
Present.
Member Howdy Shell.
Here.
Member Lewis. Here. Member Manson.
Present.
And Member Seamers.
Present.
The director is present as well as staff.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda for tonight.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the August 28, 2014 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the minutes of the August 28, 2014 meeting. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? You had your hand up. Okay. 2 abstentions. Motion passes with a majority. Public comment. It's time for public comment. It's my understanding we have a Eagle Scout project here this evening.
Hi, my name is Matthew Argotzinger, and I am a Boy Scout from Troop 621 out of Peculiar, Missouri. And I am wanting to redo the tennis backboard at Memorial Park, take the old one down because it's in bad shape, and put a new one up, and also put one up at Recreation Park. And then I'm planning to do this in mid-October, mid-November. It depends on when I get my other signatures from the Scout Council, and then when I get all my materials and everything. I'm wanting to do this because I've seen how bad shape the one at Memorial Park is, and then I'm on the Raypec tennis team, and I've seen that people need practice by themselves, and it's useful to help with getting better. My budget for this is I just got a preliminary cost estimate. It's just like I based it on the quantity and type of material, and I got the materials cost is $956, and then supplies of being around $88, and that's just a rough estimate, so it'll vary depending on what type of or what brand of material and what like where I get it. And people that are going to help me with this project are going to be local scouts from my troop, and then maybe surrounding areas depending on if they can, and then also adults from our troop, because you can't have anyone under 21 operating power tools. It's one of the scout regulations. So that's all that I have.
This is definitely a project that needs to be done. The backboard up at Memorial deteriorated very quickly this past year. We were going to try to find the funds in the budget this winter to redo that one when Matthew came to us and thought this would be a great idea, plus put one down at Rec Park. So staff thinks it's a great idea. We just wanted Matthew to come here and talk to you all about it and let you know what's going on and make sure you guys approve.
I guess the question I have, we got one at Memorial Park on one of the tennis courts out of two of them. What's your thoughts about putting one at Memorial and one at Rec versus two at Memorial Park? I mean, and I don't know how it affects any high school play because that's where the varsity does high school play at Rec Park. So that's kind of my
Generally,
question.
As a tennis player, you usually put it on each location on one court. And the reason being is if Matthew or anybody else shows up and they're either waiting for someone or they can't make it or they just want to come out and hit, you can play against the backboard by yourself. So it is nice to have one at each location like he is proposing because it allows you that opportunity to just hit the ball against the wall. I guess, Brian, if I could interrupt. Matthew, do you have a design
Yes.
worked out yet?
Yes.
I would ask that at some point you get with Steve, if you have not, Steve Rulo here, and go over that design with him. He's got some pretty sharp guys, and himself included, that are pretty good at construction and just kind of like to look at what you're proposing. One of the things we always are concerned about is wind load on the fences. If we put something up and it's too much weight or it's too big, that it could actually take the fence down in high winds. So there are some considerations that we have to look at in that regard. That's all I have. Thank you.
I guess that is my question. How's it attached to the fence? I mean, is there boards on both sides and it just kind of hangs? No?
It's using like 2-inch pipe brackets to mount it to the poles that support the fence. Just mount the pipe brackets. Here's the pole, and then just screw it in. And there's I think I counted 8 of them at the Memorial Park. So put that up.
And I guess there hasn't been a huge wind load at Memorial Park to take that fence down, right?
No, and he took the design straight from the one that's up there. I don't think we'd have any problem with a wind weight load or anything like that.
Okay. And what was your total dollar amount budgeted for this?
956. About. It's not exact. It's when I actually get the material on my final plan and actually I'm about to purchase it, it'll be more accurate.
Where are you getting your funds for this project?
Well, I was going to ask you if there was any funds available from the park board, or if not, if they could get like a discount through the stores or some help with it.
I don't know about any discounts through any stores.
Generally, Steve, you could probably talk to this better than anybody, but what we've seen in past Boy Scout projects like this is you go to the lumber yards and ask them specifically, tell them what you're doing and seeing if they will give you some type of discounted price. And I've seen scouts do fundraisers for this, or I've seen us help. So that is really kind of up to the board as to how this will be funded.
Well, and that was another thing I brought up. I think in the past we've donated for some of these projects that have put stuff, we've donated a portion of it, depending on the cost. We've donated, I think we did one, there was a bridge went somewhere, and we donated a little bit of money to that. Seemed like there was something else we did too, but I can't recall everything.
I think we should. Donate some part of it. So that's, if not all.
In the past, if these projects, when a scout comes to us, if we have a project that we're getting ready to do and we have funds in the budget for it, then what we ask is they go out, they try to get donations as much as they can, like they're supposed to. If they don't get the full amount, we have it budgeted, so we go ahead and offer that up, the rest of it. This particular project was not budgeted. The one at Memorial does have to be redone this year. It looks very bad. So the funds will be made there no matter what. My suggestion would be that Matthew gets as much as he can, and then that maybe the city helps out. It is going to help out the citizens, the tennis players in the city, both at Recreation Park and Memorial. Take that.
So you want to take the route that we come back and see how much you spent? Do it from that perspective? Is that okay? You good with that?
One thing I would encourage you is ask for donations. When you go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, ask, say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Because I've received others, when I've done stuff with the elementary school, they love helping. So don't ask for a discount, ask for it for free.
Yeah, we appreciate the effort, and certainly adding the second backstop isn't something we were really anticipating, or, to be honest, hadn't really thought about. I assume it won't affect high school play at all, having it there.
They'll appreciate it. They really will.
Okay. So how about this? How about this for a plan? How about you go ahead and go forward with your project? If you pay for anything or have any receipts, bring it to Steve or Mr. Kennedy, and then we'll look at that when it's done. Hopefully you get everything for free. That'd be nice. But we appreciate you putting this effort into our parks very much. Anybody else have anything else to say or ask, or no questions?
I just want to thank you for doing it. Thanks for thinking about the community, because that's what we need. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. You can check that one off your list. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to staff reports. Mr. McLean, would you like to start, please?
Yes, I'll be glad to. As you guys have seen in the packet, youth sports, or all the fall sports, is currently or are currently in progress. Today was the last day for the first initial startup. So baseball and softball games for our fall recreation league have started tonight. So that sums up all of the 4 main categories, or the 5 sports that we are doing, which is soccer, volleyball, flag football, baseball, and softball. If you guys get a chance to drive by Recreation Park of an evening, you will see how crazy busy it is. So we're liking the traffic. We have reopened, of course, our concession stands for both the soccer and flag football concession stand, as well as the baseball one, mostly Tuesday and Thursday night games. Monday games for flag football, and then Mondays and Wednesdays are left open for rain makeups due to the time of the year. So all of this is slotted to be done by the end of October, so short seasons, but a lot of play time for those individual kids. So we're glad to see that. Meetings attended, as was stated on the last agenda. I was out. I do apologize for that, but I was at director meeting, director school through National Recreation and Park Association, which was a very good school, and I'm looking forward to finishing my accreditation with that. I thank you guys for the support on that one, and if you guys have any further questions, I'll be glad to entertain it, but there was a lot of information, so I don't want to get too windy on that. We did meet with the South Metro Sports Group to share play. Most of these leagues did do share play. Soccer was the only one that had no share play as well. Well, volleyball did not either. Flag football, Belton did request to share play with us, so that we do have some Belton teams, pardon me, playing flag football, as well as, baseball and softball. We had 2 Pleasant Hill teams and then Belton teams as well. So we did have some share play, and we did have meetings to get all that scheduled, and everything is running smoothly at this point. Nature Quest has started again for this school year. Jerry Lynn, our recreation coordinator, is instructing that class and has already conducted her first class, and it has gone over quite well, and we're getting a good response for that again, and we had a lot of people asking about it, so definitely good to have it back up and going. Special events, of course, Harvest Night is October 24th, so we are all in preparations for that and getting everything ready to go, getting all the planning and programming out, making sure we have all of our equipment and effects, special effects and everything for the Haunted Hayride and all the activity that goes on there. Looking still currently for volunteers. We have called out for volunteers, and we're still looking for volunteers. So we ask that if anybody's interested, they please contact us. We are already starting preparations for Veterans Day as well on November 11th. And then our farmers market, we are getting ready to wrap it up. It has about 4 weeks left. October 14th is the last one, and we will be having a Halloween theme for that one. So that's a summary of the report that you guys have. I will be glad to entertain any questions at this time.
Any questions for Mr. McLean? Yes, sir.
Hi. I found this in my book, and I don't mean to hit you blindside, but there was an email that was sent by a person that I'll leave nameless right before our last meeting, in fact, and it was about ball field access, baseball, softball field access. I think most everybody was copied. I think you were as well. So I don't want to bring the person up, in public. That's not the point. But I guess I want to ask, not for tonight, but maybe for the future, if we're going to grow rec, let's say sports programs, rec or whatever, what is our limit? Is our limit volunteers, or is our limit facilities? I mean, there's an opinion here, I think, in this email, and so I'm not asking you to respond tonight, but I guess I'd like to better understand, using this as the start of the discussion, where are we limited from growing the sports programs?
Well, limited on the growing of the sports programs. I feel like I feel like there's multiple reasons that I would like to put together a proposal for. I think some of this is also due, I did briefly read the email, and I think there is also a need on space, and while we're trying to produce more revenue for the recreation programs and therefore adding new programs like we did, it ends up hurting the first come, first serve. And so if field space is in high demand, then there is the rental capability, or once our recreation league has the schedules out and our practice schedules are locked in and our game schedules are locked in, there's still some availability around those. So it's just making sure that we educate.
I'd like to add a little too. I agree with John totally. It has a lot to do with facilities. We have a lot of competition for our facilities, whether it's tournaments on the weekends, practices during the week, or the league play that we have. We've seen growth in most of the programs, and so consequently, it's taking a lot of facility time away that we do not have. We've tried to do some things like integrate some of the fields, for example, baseball and softball, through the school system, using a couple of the fields that we have over at Memorial Park that have just kind of been pretty bad up to now. We're going to try to do some improvements. But another major area that is going to be needed if we want to expand our offerings, whether it's a competitive soccer program or whatever, is staff. If you look at what Belton has and what they staff, and I don't mean to use them necessarily as an example, but they have 3 times as many staff as we do as far as what they run their programs, and they have dedicated staff for specific programs. We are currently trying to run all of our recreation programs, whether they're sports programs, whether they're classes, whether they're special events, with 3 people. and myself being one of those. And I have all my administrative duties and stuff. So if we ever want to add a competitive type soccer program, the board's definitely going to have to look at employing someone else that dedicates themselves to that job. There is no way that we could add another sports program to what we currently offer with the staffing levels that we have. And the question will come up immediately, well, how did we do it in the past? We did not. That competitive soccer program was run by someone else, and they used our facility. Okay, well, now with the growth that we have in our recreation programs, not only do we not have the staff, but we couldn't even put teams out on fields because we don't have the fields. So those two areas probably are our biggest challenges. I think the revenue would be there if we were able to do it, but at the same time, it's going to take more people and more facilities in order for us to significantly grow the program the way I think everybody wants to see it grow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Mr. Rulo?
I also submitted a written report. Just wanted to hit on a few key things that the crew has been doing. We did purchase native seed, a couple pounds of native seeds that will be spreading as soon as the first frost comes. I'm hoping to add a little more color to our native areas. We haven't planted or we haven't thrown any seed for the last year or so. So got some good bright colors coming for next year, hopefully. Staff has been working. They worked very hard on the festival last week, during the festival and with the cleanup. And as John had mentioned, we're also getting ready for the harvest night now, planning all those trails and the rides and everything. I also wanted to just let you all know that 2 of our 3 seasonals, their employment ended last Friday for the year. Want to say a big thanks out to the 2, Cole Horn and Shauna Scott, who helped out this summer. Shauna spent every day that she was here, she spent in flower beds. If you guys pay any attention to the flower beds that are in the parks, you can definitely tell that one, it was well needed, and her expertise was outstanding. So just wanted to throw a big thanks out there to them. Other than that, not a lot going on. We're trying to get the grass mowing wrapped up so we can get back onto the tee boxes for the golf course, and then once we get the tee boxes in on the front 9, we'll move to putting the next 9 holes on the back. So I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Rulo? Yes, ma'am.
Steve, what is the City Hall Municipal Circle Light Pole replacement?
All
What are
the
we
street,
replacing?
all the street lights and the parking lights are being replaced this year, and
The whole pole?
yes, for this facility,
For this-
just, yeah, for just around the circle and inside the parking lots. Yeah, it's all new poles, using the existing LEDs that just got changed out about 2 years ago. The poles are in bad shape. If you look at them, it seems like where the irrigation was hitting them, it's almost cutting them in half. So it's a CIP project that excuse me, Mr. Kennedy and myself are involved in.
Did we have a guarantee on those poles?
I think we did, but they've been up there for 13 years. I don't think it was over
I didn't
10
realize
years.
it was that long.
Yeah.
And just a
Thank you.
reminder, this is not funded, this project, through Parks and Recreation. This is funded through the city's capital improvement fund as part of the Buildings and Grounds program. Thanks, Steve.
Steve, on the T-pads, I'll get with you after the meeting and we can talk about some of the specifics and
Okay.
timing and
Okay,
get together.
sounds great.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve, I was on the bike trail that's, I don't know how to describe it, south side of Lucy Webb. There was like a nice bed of probably native grasses and stuff, and it just looked really nice, and so it was nice to, have an area that was, apparently because it was a low area and stuff like that, that used stuff that would be beneficial there.
That is actually a memorial rain garden that was put in there, sponsored with the South Grand Watershed Group, MDC, and I don't have my stuff with me, and I'm gonna I'll botch it up if I try to, but it is a
It's okay.
memorial rain garden, on an ongoing deal. There's actually a sign in the workings, that will, say a little bit about Rick, who passed away last year. But it's a really nice rain garden for
Mhm.
people to see, and hopefully we'll have, a few more of these going in throughout the city soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you. Just real briefly, I too have a written report. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you that participated in the festival, working at the booth. I hope you had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people. I know they had some pretty good crowds and stuff going through the facility and stuff. So thank you very much for your time. It is greatly appreciated. I know it's a lot of times takes away from family time, so thank you very much for doing that for us. The Raymore Park Foundation has approached the Parks and Recreation Department about possibly putting in some batting cages in Recreation Park. And what I would like to do is, Steve and I have been working on putting together some information. We have that just about complete. I've visited several batting cage facilities in the metropolitan Kansas City area to talk to them about what they like and dislike and what they'd recommend. So I'd like to call a meeting of the grounds committee possibly for the month of October, Jim, to kind of get together and talk specifics. So then maybe for the October meeting, we will have something to bring to the park board to at least talk about. And at the same time, we'll be going back to the foundation with our what we find and seeing if they will continue to be interested in supporting this project. Finally, the last thing I have is the date for the start of the Eagle Glen Trail is September 29th. We've had quite a few inquiries from people that live along the trail. We will be putting door hangers on all the houses that border this trail that tells them a little bit more about the project. It is about a 22-day project is what the contractor is proposing. Again, this is taking the asphalt trail and replacing it with an 8-foot concrete trail. $140,000 was budgeted from the park fund, and $40,000 was budgeted from the Public Works CIP. And the reason that is the CIP program for Public Works, they use this to access that big sewer main that runs parallel to this trail through Eagle Glen. So if you see some construction in that area, that's what's going on. If there's anything, I will try to keep you updated if there's any changes in the project, but again, about 22 days. Any questions you might have?
The batting cages, it said the entrance, like what does that mean? Or
Pardon me?
the batting cages, it said something about at the entrance of the baseball fields. What like where?
Eric, that's something we haven't identified yet. That would be something that the grounds committee, we would probably go out and walk the grounds after Steve and I have some recommendations as to some locations. I know he has some pretty good ideas as to where they might be located. And it really kind of depends on if we're looking at a single or a double wide batting cage. You know, there's lots of options to consider, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Kennedy? No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, seeing we have no unfinished business this evening, let's move on to new business. We'll start with item A, the Community-Wide Trails Master Plan. Mr. Kennedy, can you want to catch us up?
I'd like to introduce a couple staff people here from, is it Vireo? Thank you so much. Steve's been the one I've been working with the most, but he has someone he's brought along. I'm going to let you introduce and talk a little bit. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'm Steve Rhodes with Vireo, and with me is Lara Justison. With Vireo, she's been our primary project manager for this job. We started back on June 18th when we had a tour of the existing park system with John. Then we met with city staff to have a discussion about city growth areas on July 10th. Then Lara spent several weeks, or a week, out here basically inventorying and collecting data on the existing system that you have here in Raymore. We're also working on the bike and trail plan update for Mid-America Regional Council at the same time, so we were able to kind of fold in what's happening around you into your plan. So you'll see that as Lara presents it to you. And we're here tonight to kind of give you a draft update of where we're at as it would relate to Raymore. And then we hope to get your blessing to take it out for public viewing. And then our hope is that we would have a combined Park Board City Council meeting the end of October where you would approve the Trail Master Plan. So at this point I'm going to hand it over to Lara because she's been most involved throughout the process.
Hello. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through just a brief recap of what has happened with the project so far and what we found when we were out in the field. The PowerPoint presentation hopefully is showing on your screens, and then if you want to see a little more detail, the handouts.
You also have it on your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, if it's hard to see on the screen, it's easier to see on the paper, so. So the first page there, this is just to get us acquainted with what is out there right now. So these are the existing shared use paths that are out there right now. You guys can see the line work. It's the red dash. I have a few trails there. Now, we are actually introducing some new language with this plan update because of the new types of trail and bike ped facilities that are being developed across the nation these days. We thought that we would start adding some of the differentiation in the different types to this plan update. So what you're seeing here are shared use paths, which basically would have been called a greenway. They are trails that go not along a road right-of-way. So that's what that is. Then on this next slide, you have the existing side paths. Now, side path is also a new term that we're going to add in here. Those are paths or trails, 8 to 10 foot wide, that actually follow along a road right-of-way. So you see these dashed lines here, existing side paths that are already constructed.
So a shared use is something that's not along a right-of-way.
Right.
An existing side path is something that is along a right-of-way.
That's correct. So they're both trails, but one is designated along, a street. It's right along the corridor, and the other one is through a greenway or some other park property. Okay. So the pictures that are down in the lower right-hand corner show examples that are actually here in Raymore. This side path photo is the North Madison Trail. Okay, then our next slide shows existing on-street facilities. Right now, there is an on-street bicycling facility along Lucy Webb. It's a stretch that went in with that expansion project there between Madison and basically Silver Lake's properties there. And as you can see in the photo that's included on that slide, this is a shared lane marking. Well, it's not a marking, but it's share the road, so you're signed as a bike path for that segment only. Okay, so then the next slide shows all of those facilities together in the same map, so you can see where the network starts to fold together. There is a really nice network that you guys have in place here right now. There's just beautiful places to go out and walk and ride the trails. Some of it, as you can see, the way the network is laid out right now, is kind of not connected. So if somebody started on one trail and went down and wanted to make a loop back up on a different one, they would have to take an alternate route or find some way to get there. So the next slide shows you guys already have sidewalk connections in place that are tying together a lot of those loose ends of the trail network. Okay, the next one, this is what you have in place right now. So we want to show you with what you have, on this next slide, these are the destinations within Raymore. These are the places that people would want to get to, whether walking, biking, pushing a stroller, that kind of thing. So these are destinations like places to go to eat, the park, health, which might be pharmacies or doctor's offices, churches, bank, government buildings, etc. So the icons that are on these maps represent these things, and you can see that you guys are pretty well connected right now with what you have, especially including those sidewalk connections that go from corridor to corridor. One of the things that we did here in meeting with staff is that you guys would like to be better connected with a major destination such as the Katy Trail. So if you take a look in the lower right-hand corner of the map, you'll see the Rock Island Trail corridor running from Pleasant Hill to Windsor, Missouri, which is what's going to tie Kansas City into the Katy Trail. And in the work that we've been doing with the Mid-America Regional Council and other communities around you, we have identified that the southern portion of 58 Highway that travels to the east from 291, you know how it makes that jog there, that is actually the corridor that can tie you in to where the Rock Island Trail State Park is, just south of Pleasant Hill, or just at Pleasant Hill. So that is our location that we want to tie you guys in to that corner. Okay, so this next slide is just a overview map showing the locations of the places that I'm going to show you in the next slides coming up. These are inventory photos, some of the things that I noticed while I was out on the trails. And this map will actually be blown up on the next slides so that you can see it a little better. So we'll start with North Fox Ridge Trail along Fox Ridge Drive. As you'll notice in the top photo, the trail does dead end abruptly. I was riding my bicycle while doing field recon and coming down that hill quite quickly. Didn't realize it dead ended like that and really had to lay on the brakes because, of course, I was looking around trying to observe everything, you know, what all's going on and everything, and all of a sudden it stopped and I went, oh, okay. So our recommendation would be either advanced warning signage and a curb cut at the street edge, or perhaps getting that trail completed up to 155th with a curb cut up there. That would, of course, be the optimum, but I know that this is a developer-owned trail, and so it would be a cooperation effort with them to get that completed. The second photo there is, of course, just showing you this is private developer constructed and maintained trail. It is really, really pretty. And when I rode up to it, I went, oh, I bet this is going to be so nice to ride on because it just looks great. But as I started down the trail, I couldn't believe how rough it was. It was jarring the handlebars so much, to the point that even my eyes got blurry trying to see forward as I was bumping down the trail. So this is an example that would lean in favor of having the city constructing their own trails with their own cross-section rather than leaving it in the developer's hands. Okay, we're still on North Fox Ridge Trail along Fox Ridge Drive in the next slide. I noticed that as I was up there, if you take a look in the photo on the slide, that you can't really see the trail identification sign when you're coming up to the trail from the south. And that's because it's tucked behind that tree that's on the left in the photo. So while the identification signs are beautiful and really, really helpful to trail users, this is one location where it'd be great if that sign could be relocated maybe between the trail and the back of curb so that people could see it not only from where the vantage point is for this photo, but as you come up to that intersection and just trying to find out where you're supposed to go to find that trail. When we had our meeting, the city staff was going to check and see if there was a utility conflict that maybe prescribed that sign being moved over to the other side. Do you know if that was done?
Yes, it was, and as far as we know, there is no conflict.
Okay,
We
great.
probably didn't talk to all the different utility providers, but the ones that we know are there, we did discuss this with them, and they said that they thought we could move the sign at our own convenience.
Super. That would be great. Okay. Fox Ridge as well. Granada Drive intersection is that top photo. And when you get up there from the sidewalk, you look around and you see that the sidewalk doesn't really extend to the north on your side, so, well, you probably need to go the other side. But even at that point, when you're not that far away from the trail, if you're not familiar with the system, you don't know where to go. So our recommendation is just some additional wayfinding signage right there. And then if you're at the point where we're at Granada Drive and you turn around right from where that first photo was taken, you look south, you'll see that there's quite a few obstacles in the sidewalk that connects the trail all the way back down to 58 Highway and to the South Foxwood Trail. It's a wide sidewalk, and I think it's really easy to navigate, except for, there's a cutout, a hole in the concrete. While you're dodging the concrete, you also have to look out for the inlet cover because it's kind of a bump, so you want to avoid that. But then you've got a bumper over here, and you've got a sign, and you've got a mailbox, and that kind of stuff. So very easy things to fix for the most part, just a patch in the concrete for that section that's cut out there. Perhaps a curb stop for that parking spot for that van so that the bumper doesn't hang out into the trail, that kind of stuff. Simple things to fix. Okay. Then traveling a little bit further south on Fox Ridge Trail, one thing that I noticed in the city is that the intersections are characterized by very nice crosswalks. And you guys have your curb ramps and your warning strips all in place. You guys are doing a fabulous job with that. I just wanted to commend you guys on that. The second photo there shows that Fox Ridge Trail was under construction currently, at least while I was taking these photos. You guys, it may be complete now. Is it complete? Fabulous. Oh, fabulous. So that was really exciting to see just the progress already in place there. Okay, next slide, Lemoore Trail near Dean Avenue. This is a location where, can you guys see the green post in the picture? There's a trail sign missing there. So we don't have identification or wayfinding up there at the north end of this trail. System-wide, I found that in a lot of locations that the signs may be missing. They might have been stolen or vandalized. Some of them are beaten up a little bit. But as I heard from the staff meeting, the Parks Department is already in the process of replacing them, so that's great. The second photo, very nice bench and trash receptacle area. The standard is really clean, really nice having a concrete pad all the way up to the edge of the trail. Very nice for maintenance, mowing, that kind of thing. This is a great standard. I guess the only recommendation that we would have would be to expand the provision of the benches and receptacles to maybe half-mile intervals on all the trails to help accommodate perhaps elderly that are walking and need to take breaks occasionally. Okay, a little bit south on Lemoore, and we have a switchback. This is here, I'm sure, because of easement and access and, of course, slopes that require that switchback situation to help you get down the slope a little bit. In the upper right corner in the inset photo, you'll see, looking over the handlebars of the bicycle, you can kind of see the size of the caution sign that's in the surface of the trail. And it's pretty small. If your head's up already and you're going fast enough, you could miss it. So the recommendation is just provide a larger upright warning sign to help people orient themselves to, hey, it's getting ready to make a U-turn. The second picture, we noticed that there was some potential subsidence of the subgrade. The hill is starting to slough a little bit, maybe right there, where the trail is starting to crack and it's becoming uneven. Parks has already identified this for repair. So we brought it up and they're like, oh, we're already on that. Okay, a little bit further south again on Lemoore. Identification wayfinding signage was missing at Kreisel Drive. Again, this applies as before. Parks is already on the process of replacing all the signs that are missing. The second image down is Dean Avenue Trail. Let's see Yes, that's right. Okay, so the trail currently ends at Shagbark without any wayfinding. So this is the area where it's set off of Dean Avenue a bit. You have some wooded area between the trail and the back of curve. So by the time you get up there to Shagbark, you're looking around and you're like, uh-oh, now I really don't know where to go because it just kind of ends there pending further development. We know that Huntman West will be continuing the trail further north. Did we think that would be in like another year or so? So as a temporary measure, perhaps some wayfinding to direct users to use the sidewalk that's on the other side of Dean off to your left, if you're looking in this picture here. So then I came along the Dean Avenue Trail and noticed in the segment that's indicated on the map that the asphalt was in pretty bad shape, but there were all of these paint markings around. And I'm like, oh, okay. Even the patches seemed like they needed patches. So I brought it up to staff's attention, and they're like, oh, well, we already tore that out yesterday, so it's already being replaced. They're so on this stuff. So we're very excited that, you know, this is not even an issue that we have to really bring up. Next slide. Okay, so the top image is Lemoore Trail, bottom image is Good Parkway Trail. There's a crack in the walk at the bridge abutment, but it's already been identified by Parks as a winter project. We were afraid it might have been that the streamway was eroding a bit and that the ground was subsiding, but we heard that that's not the case, that it was done by some heavy equipment that was moved into that location to do some maintenance for something else. And so that's already been identified to be repaired this winter. One of the recommendations that we brought to staff was perhaps adding 45-degree wing walls, winged rails for all the bridges to come off the edges. Because if you notice in the picture, if you happen to miss the trail to the left or to the right, you're going to drop straight into the creek. So just as a safety measure, that's our recommendation. Bottom picture, Good Parkway's asphalt. It's pretty rough. It's lifting in areas where roots are growing underneath the trail. It's also cracking at culverts and sinking in various places. In this picture here, the asphalt was sinking to make this elevation mismatch at the bridge abutment, which is pretty jarring bump right there. And you know, if it gets deep enough, it could be a trip hazard, could be an issue. However, that's also on the winter project list, so these guys are on it again. But our recommendation would be to go ahead when funds are available to replace the Good Parkway asphalt trail segments with new cross-section standards of the concrete trail. Okay, next one, Eagle Glen Trail. So it wasn't that long ago I was out there taking pictures, but contract was awarded for replacement already to get rid of all those cracks and everything that's compromising the pavement. All that's getting ready to be taken care of starting on the 29th, right? Fabulous. The second picture is the same case. That is also Eagle Glen Trail where it terminates at Fox Ridge. I understand that there will be a ramp included? Proposed, okay. Excuse me. I have allergies, so pardon me for taking a drink in the middle of my presentation. I'm getting a little choked up. One of our other recommendations, since the trail itself is already being taken care of, is to add some wayfinding here, because right here it just kind of ends at Fox Ridge, but it doesn't tell you how to get to another trail. So this is a good location to point users to the south to go hook up with Lucy Webb. Okay. Again, this top photo is the same same topic. This is the intersection at Lucy Webb. When you get to the intersection, you're not really sure, do I stay on this side of the road or do I go to the other side of the road to go find the trail? I made the mistake of staying on this side and ended up having to cross mid-block to get over and ride the actual Lucy Webb Trail. So again, the recommendation is just provide signage. The second picture, that is the south end of the Brookside Trail, where it ends at Bristol Drive, and it has no connection to the walks in the neighborhood along Bristol Drive. But you can see in the picture that there are cattle paths. People definitely want to access the trail from that street. So our recommendation until Brookside is extended to the south is go ahead and put in a temporary connection from the neighborhood onto the trail. Okay, Good Parkway. We have a location here where the creek is incising the top of bank, or the top of bank is getting pretty close to the trail, and it's an incised bank. So there's lots of erosion that's happening on this curve, and with creek morphology, anything that's on the outside curve will continue to erode. So we noticed that the distance is about 8 feet or less currently. We recommend eliminate mowing altogether of the very edge of that bank there. We understand it's only mowed once or twice a year right now, but if we eliminate mowing, we can allow woody growth to help stabilize that bank, and then of course monitor it for additional stabilizing measures as they may be needed in the future. The second picture is the low water crossing further south. There's been a little bit of erosion that's undercutting the concrete, so it's starting to kind of undermine the whole structure there. It's still early, plenty of time to make repairs and not have to replace the whole thing. There's also, with flooding that occurs down there, there's silt that covers the trail. The low water crossing warning signage is on the pavement, much like the warning sign that we saw for the switchback earlier. With silt covering it, or if there's a little bit of water across the trail, you can't see it. So we recommend supplying an upright sign and maybe increase the frequency of trail sweeping in this area.
Park staff is aware of the situation.
Right, but I think his question is, if they don't mow it, if they let the woody growth grow up and stabilize the bank there, is that a problem with a blind corner? Mm-hmm. However, I think there's an alternative way to address the blind curve. You could always put a center line down the center of the trail that directs users to stay on their side of the trail.
Something too on this location, we actually have a rather large right-of-way, so if need be, we could move that trail a little bit further to whatever direction that is.
To the west.
Thank you. To the west, to maybe lessen the curve for one, or get away a little bit more from the bank area and still have the same type of curve, but just farther away, so we wouldn't have the issue.
Okay. Continuing down a little bit further south on Good Parkway than we were at the low water crossing. This is the ramp or the approach that comes up. It's like a ramp up to Hubock Hill. Very, very steep. It actually caught me off guard, and I had to stop midway up the ramp, up the trail. And then we're also missing wayfinding and identification signage in this location. So our recommendations are consider replacing hill segment with a switchback, which would help reduce those slopes there, increase accessibility, and then add that signage in. And then, John, you had mentioned something about really wanting to get a trailhead in there. Is that something that you wanted to discuss?
The long-range plan is this trail will actually continue across the roadway. And we would have to make consideration as to how we would get there. But I think this would be a great location at some point to put a trailhead at this location, because I think this is where a lot of people either stop or start. And it'd just be a nice place to maybe put a trailhead to stop or start.
Very good. The second image is just downhill from that, just to the north. This whole area, of course, is a floodplain. You're right next to the creek, and it does get inundated when you get a decent rain amount. but you can see, perhaps in the printed version better, that there's some silt that's getting retained on the trail, where the lower edge grass is kind of like up a little higher than the concrete and holding that water and letting that silt drop right there on the trail. But I understand from staff that the area is set with a new landscaping plan, which is about to happen. So when that goes in, our recommendation is to grade the soil for positive drainage in that area and consider adding concrete drainage aprons as appropriate. That's just an extra little piece of concrete that would actually keep the grass from growing up higher than the edge of the trail, so the water can drain off of it. Now we're on South Madison Trail. As you can see in the photo, the trail makes an awkward jog around some utilities. So our suggestion is to relocate the utilities, correct the trail alignment, and then add a guardrail at the top of that segmental wall that's on the right there, because that's a little bit dangerous, a bit of a drop off, pretty close to the trail edge. The second image is the trail within Recreation Park. There's some stormwater that's been running over from the edge of the parking lot. It's overpowering the drainage design, but this is already on maintenance's list. Okay, Memorial Park trails. As you can see in the photo on the top, there are a lot of trails, especially on the northwest side of Memorial Park. Unfortunately, they don't make a lot of sense in the way that they're laid out. You can get on them and you can walk and walk and walk, but sometimes you can't get where you're trying to get to. For instance, in that picture, I was trying to get to the bridge that's on the left side of the picture, but the trail I was on never touched it. It just looped back and then just went back north. So our recommendation, of course, is to start fresh with a connecting loop that serves not only this part of the park with the playground facilities and just lovely shelter amenities and stuff like that, but also the school and the ball fields and everything that are up there. Then in the second photo, you'll see that in the same park, individuals do opt to cross into the park at the street intersection and neglect the trail alignment. The Lucy Webb pedestrian crossing was a recent significant investment. We recognize that. Our recommendation is to serve the park users with a logical loop. Adding a second connection across Lucy Webb probably is not necessary at this time, but if all things had developed the way that you guys had anticipated, that problem wouldn't be there. But I think it'll be okay the way it is. All right. So this next slide, these are all of the existing facilities that are already on the ground, plus all of the planned facilities that are within your planning documents today, without us touching them. So you can see that the existing facilities, while they're terrific and they're connecting a lot of stuff, you guys have a lot of stuff in the works too that's really going to expand the system, and I think it's fabulous. I want to show you, as we've been working on the MARC Regional Bikeways Plan, those yellow lines that are coming through your area are the regional bikeway corridors. And these are identified as on-street bicycling facilities that would connect, of course, local jurisdictions as well as all the way across the MARC region, so the 8-county region. How are they going to do that? They're going to work with you guys. This is how. So this next slide shows what we're recommending as your potential new on-street network. The network that I'm proposing here on this slide actually takes advantage of MARC's regional corridors. You will see in the upper left-hand corner that the zigzaggy yellow line, point to it, you guys have it on your monitors, that actually is an alignment that's already planned by Belton to take advantage of the new underpass that they've already had put in under 71 Highway 49. So they have plans to bring it to your border, right at about that location where that yellow line comes in. So our proposal is that you would take advantage of that yellow line and connect your on-street network into Belton that way. As you notice, it also ties into 58 Highway, so you'll be able to connect into your trail system using your sidewalk connectors as well. I guess one of the things I should have touched on to help answer your question was that once Mark's regional bikeway plan is adopted, then it will actually give you more strength, more weight in finding funding for doing those on-street networks yourselves. So if you apply for grant funding, federal funds through the Mid-America Regional Council, they will say, aha, this is a priority corridor because it's a regional corridor, and so you will score higher for getting funding to make those developments. A lot of times that doesn't just come with just the bike facilities. If you need to update a roadway, you will score higher if you have bicycle pedestrian facilities on that corridor. So. You never know. You never know. But what's really exciting about that east-west corridor is that that lines up with the 58 highway direction over there to the Katy Trail connector. So that is a really important key corridor for you guys. Okay. Okay. Let me see if I'm on the right page here. So I've shown you what we've proposed, and then let's see, did we talk about this one here? System facilities and currently planned. Okay, so then this is what we are proposing as the update. And if you'll notice, I'll flip back and forth. It's kind of hard to see changes, isn't it? They're pretty minor. You guys already have a really great planned network in place. We just have a few areas that we would like to help you enhance connectivity, and I'll show you on the next slide. These are areas that the plan has actually changed slightly. So one of the things that was discussed when we brought the inventory back to staff was extending the Dean Avenue Trail further north up to 58 Highway instead of just using a sidewalk connection along Dean Avenue. So there's one that you'll see. Better connectivity for Hawk Ridge Park. There were some planned line work, greenway line work, some planned trail segments from those community developments that were going in up there. But now with this plan, with this line work, they're actually connected all the way through. And they tie back and forth across the north and south ends of Hawk Ridge Park to get better connectivity into the park for the neighborhoods that are going to be surrounding it. The circle that shows you the segment along 58 Highway, we are proposing that instead of that being just a sidewalk connector section, that since the development is not quite as dense there and things are changing, that you guys have an opportunity that you can go ahead and make that a side path, make that a full-on trail cross-section through that area. And then we have a circle around Memorial Park, which we've already discussed, needing to revamp those trail alignments in there. We're showing at the bottom of Good Parkway and Dean Avenue Trail, and then where Brookside Trail will extend down to Hubach Hill. We would like to see you guys have a trail connector that ties all three of those together on the north side of the road. Right now that's shown as a sidewalk connector, but I think you have plenty of right-of-way that could become a trail to accommodate bicycles and pedestrians at the same time. And then as you'll see over at Recreation Park, that circle there, most of that line work was already there, but we noticed there were a couple of places where they could tie together and you could actually get into Recreation Park through that greenway designation from the south and then tie that greenway designation over to the sidewalk network that runs currently, already in place through that neighborhood. That's okay. Uh-huh. Right. They are on the growth management plan, identified corridors. So as those areas get annexed, as those areas begin to develop and developers plat neighborhoods within there, they are already, those lines are already on the map so that you can say, okay, if you want to develop this into a residential neighborhood, you have to dedicate this land to us, that kind of method. So, with this trail plan update, what we want to do for you is connect you to all the communities that surround you. One thing that you're going to find is a connection in conversations with the city of Peculiar. They really like that corridor along School Road. Of course, right now it's under construction, and this would have been a perfect time for that connection to go in, so it may have to wait until the next time that road is touched. But great place to add pedestrian and bicycle access to get to the schools, right? And then on down into Peculiar. We talked about the Katy Trail connection. We want to make sure that you guys see that there's a priority connection along Cubach Hill, as well as that Greenway corridor that connects in through. If you guys flip in your packets back to the page where we showed destinations, you'll notice that in the growth management plan, there are future parks identified out in those areas. So picking one of those Greenway corridors as a priority to develop as things start changing and annexing and everything, making one a priority over the other will help make bike ped access for not just on-street users, but for those who are more comfortable using trails, give them better access out to the Katy Trail. Then we have up in the upper right corner, we have an arrow connecting you into Lee Summit. That is also one of your on-street connections there, and that is a marked corridor. So Lee Summit's line actually will come right out the top of that arrow there and tie into that community. We're proposing that this would help you connect in with Grandview as well. The upper left arrow that runs east and west on 155th Street. 155th Street is already under design on a segment that's close to 49 to include bicycle pedestrian facilities. 155th Street is identified as a marked regional corridor. And tying up to 155th and heading over to the west, west a little bit, right before that Grandview Park there at the top of the map, there is a Metro Green corridor that runs along that creek. So that's another way for you guys to tie in to Grandview that way. And then of course we discussed the one that's on the left as well before, the one into Belton, where they've already got it planned and underway. They're already starting to construct it. Or at least they're already at the funding stage to start constructing it. So with that, any questions?
Thank you. Lots of good information. Yes, sir. You have your hand up. You speak first.
When you did this, did you consider, you did just speak about schools, and you were specifically addressing the high school.
Yes.
So I'm just going to, on my behalf, because I guess I can only speak for myself, did you consider the grade school locations and the grade school districts at all?
Not the districts, but the locations.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, well, I think districts is the wrong word, but the grade school geographic territory associated. Yeah. I have a personal beef with the way the school district has created those, and there's poor access in like one case specifically. So I didn't know if that was
Aired out in public.
that
Yes, sir.
I guess the only, I don't know, the glaring one to me is I look at this last plan, the last map, the Raymore Trails Plan update. There's 5 red arrows to connect to surrounding communities, and 3 of them don't even touch Raymore. You know, so I mean, is our plan really just to get to our end, and then we hope the county does the connection between? Or I mean, is this a really, really long-term plan where possible annexation, we pull in these locations? I mean, is that kind of what we're hoping and
Right.
going for here?
Plan for what's going to happen in the future. Annexation is always a good way to bring in tax dollars. Of course, it comes with expense of extending, utilities out there. But Yes. So what we're proposing is just like those green lines went on the map years ago, these other lines need to go on there too, just to identify those stretches of road and to kind of give a flag to the other communities that are connecting into you. Hey, this is where we want to connect with you.
Okay.
So that they start building their facilities from their end on the same corridor to meet up with you.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Yes, Member Lewis.
On the last map that you have, I see all these designated greenway.
Uh-huh. Those are a part of the growth management plan,
Okay.
the existing one.
I don't remember, well, maybe, I don't remember. You see the one that is on the north side of, 58 Highway.
Okay.
You have 58 Highway, and then you have one that goes just north of that. I don't remember who does that. Whose responsibility is that to get these greenways in?
Are you talking about the one that follows the Streamwave corridor that's outside of city limits?
No, it's inside the city limits.
Okay. Well, that again is that opportunity to make sure that you have a line on the map, so when you have a developer that comes in to plat those neighborhoods.
Because I live in that neighborhood.
Okay.
That's why I was wondering. I don't remember seeing a trail that.
Yes, that's correct. Those green lines are not built yet, they're future.
Okay.
That's correct.
And I also believe, as a part of your growth management plan, those green corridors are also corridors for water and sewer line extensions as you develop your community. So what's overlaid on, it's not just a trail corridor, but it's actually a public utility corridor, if I'm not mistaken. Many of those green lines are not there just as random, but
Right.
you're gonna have to extend the utilities, the developer's gonna have to extend utilities through those corridors, and it's a perfect opportunity to maximize those public areas to include trails.
So those greenways are not for the, it's just on the map.
Right,
None of
that's
these
correct.
have been actually done.
That's correct.
Correct.
They're also located within the low areas, topographically low areas, so that's why they're great utility corridors as well. Joint use.
Any other questions? Everybody's still trying to take it all in. It's a lot of stuff, and it's
Right.
dark, and my eyes are bad, and I can't tell the difference in these colors.
Just in closing, I'd like to thank these guys. First of all, I think they did a great job. And second of all, like they said, the next step would be hopefully we can have a joint meeting with the council. And we will not go through this whole process that you went through tonight. What probably will be focused on in that meeting is how to connect to the other communities and how we see future growth within our existing city boundaries. And we will try to get that put on the agenda eventually for a joint park board city council meeting.
Okay. Do we need to go ahead and adopt this as our,
This is just a draft.
okay. Okay. So no action on this tonight? We wait for our future meeting? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. This is really good work. I really like that thick paper, too. It's awesome. It's the small things, isn't it? Okay. Move on to item B, Parks and Recreation fees. I guess everybody saw in their packet what our fees are compared to surrounding communities. And then there's a couple of proposed fee changes. Looks like I guess there's really only one as far as programs. That's youth volleyball and changes for our shelter and facility rentals. It would be youth volleyball would go up $10 for an individual, which I guess it's all individuals. We don't sign up full teams, do we? No.
No, we currently do not offer a competitive, which is usually the only time we charge a team fee. So
Yeah.
it is per individual, and As you can see on that, I did a fee comparison of local area fees for other agencies, and so this is just industry standard and just trying to keep in with our current neighbors and where we're just a little bit behind on that one. The rest of them we're pretty much in line with.
And then the other one was in shelter rentals and facility rentals. Those prices
Facility
are a little
being
bit-
Park House.
Yeah, Park House. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. Haddock.
I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up here that I didn't review. The existing fees are, so like, for example, I'm at the bottom left-hand corner, proposed fee change for shelter rental, $70 residential, 20 table. Does that say what it used to be? Or what it is today?
Yes, just above it, where it says Raymore. The
Oh,
current
oh,
fees,
thank you.
Raymore is 35 and 50, size pending.
Okay, okay, sorry.
So we're, yes, it was, that, the current ones are the ones listed up, proposed fee changes just for our own within.
Guess the only question I had, I'm looking through the sports ones, they seem to be easier to determine. And why not propose a change in youth flag football and youth soccer too? They seem to be a little out of line with, to be honest, our closest competitors.
Those ones, the reason I did not is because those other agencies don't do all the same pre-registration or late fee type scenario that we do. So with ours, if you do the pre-registration, that is that fee. If you do not, then after the pre-registration date, which is usually about 2.5, 3 weeks out, then there's an additional $10. So when you add that in, that factor, then I'm right around the industry.
So this is our pre-registration fee, not
Yes, correct.
you didn't register in time fee.
Yes.
Or we're having to put you on a team at the last minute fee.
Exactly.
Everybody
So-
else's
and usually I
fee,
extend
everybody
it.
else just has the same fee no matter when you
Yes.
resign
I
up.
mean, Belton does have a pre-registration as well. Their timeline is usually a week. So there's so many contributing factors
Okay.
that I felt like that this was the only one that we were really weak on. The
Okay.
other ones, I believe we are still currently within the standard for at least the next year. I mean, this is
Okay,
for fiscal year 2015.
all right. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
But you do intend to, you have a proposed fee here for the reservation, I guess, at the shelter rental. At the bottom, you have 70, and then your proposal is 75. Am I right in understanding
No,
this?
you're looking at to the right.
Yeah,
To the right, that's the facility. That's the shelter house.
okay.
Yeah, looking
Or that's the
vertically
park house.
versus horizontally. The facility change for the park house would be from 50 for the resident, 100 for non-resident, would be
Oh,
an
okay.
increase of $25 to 75
Okay.
and 125.
The facility rental is only our park house. That's the only facility.
That's
we
the only
have.
facility we have.
Everything else is a shelter.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's per day. That's a day rate. So that's for the Saturday rental or Sunday rental.
Remember how to show?
You have down the 20 table for the residential, but not a 20 table for non-residential or residents. So is that keeping as is, or?
Yeah, I think that's what confused me.
Hold on. Yes, it was keeping as is.
Which is?
$100 currently. We decided to keep that the same.
But it says 35 or 50.
35
pending.
was resident, 50 resident, depending the size. So it was 50. Our current fee structure is $50 for a resident for a 20 table, $100 for non-resident, 35 for resident for a 6 table, and 70 for a non-resident. So the only proposed changes are to the residential 20 table and the resident non-resident 6 table
Okay.
shelters.
Okay.
Sorry, that was not as clear as it
It's
needed to
okay.
be. I apologize.
It's okay. Any other questions? No? I'll entertain a motion to accept these proposed fee changes.
I move that we accept staff's recommendations and changes in fees.
Second.
Wow, that was loud. Caught me off guard.
Sorry.
It's okay. I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? The motion passes. That's what I'm supposed to say. Item C, Farmers Market Phase 1 Plan Review. Did everybody get a chance to look at that in your packet? I believe, and Mr. Kennedy, please tell me if I say something out of line. We have $150,000 out of our CIP budget to pay for everything except the, what do we call it? The pavilion?
Market
Pavilion?
shelter.
Shelter, market shelter. There currently still exists 150 out of City Council's CIP or general fund. I'm not sure which fund it's coming from,
CIP,
but
you're correct.
CIP, from their CIP fund, which will take care of all of Phase 1 of the farmer's market, which, if everybody remembers, is the southeast corner, which is basically most of the concrete work and part of the off-street parking. So I guess this is the plan and review that we have. I mean, we've seen it. This is official markings and measurements. I don't see anything different. Oh, those all say handicap parking.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
That there is a pretty major difference. If you remember, the previous plan had a stage that was off the back side of that parking lot. And if you've noticed, that has been removed. There was some question from staff on location, and so this new plan proposes to leave it out at least for this phase. Now, it still very well could go back in to that exact location that it was previously proposed, but at this point, we thought it would be best to just remove it and kind of see how the flow goes, how the facility's used, and then we can anticipate specifically where we think the stage should go.
Was there much cost savings to that? I don't.
We never really put a dollar specifically to that, but it will help the overall construction cost of this project.
Okay.
Because I still believe this is really going to be pushing our $150,000
Okay.
that we have available.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
If we're not putting in a band platform, we're saying, are we running utility lines to that location in case of future build?
Absolutely. There will be plenty of utility available to this, sir.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the design.
I move that we accept the proposal as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. I have a motion and a second. What am I supposed to say? Discussion. No, I'm supposed to say I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Anybody? Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Motion passes. All right, item D, park smoking ordinance. We had this discussion last month. It's coming back up again. Mr. Kennedy provided a proposed new policy with language in it to replace section 270.050, prohibition of smoking in outdoor areas. I guess we might as well hash it out. Some of the questions going around on email was whether to modify section 2, replace section 2, or add it as section 4. The proposed now is to change language in section 2.
I think we ought to add, I don't think we need to change section 2. We should add this as section 4.
Just renumber it section 4, leave 2. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This way we're not modifying the existing ordinance, we're just adding an extra clause to it.
Anybody else? You understand?
So that I understand,
Yes.
we're going to leave the smoking, section 270, prohibition of smoking in outdoor areas. We will leave 1, 2, and 3 and add 4.
Yep. Oh, well, as it's been presented to us, this is replacing section 2.
Oh, that
But-
is replacing section
Yes,
2.
but Mr. Manson thinks it's a better idea to make it section 4 and leave 2 as it is. And part of it is section 2 applies to private areas also. And we're only prohibiting it in Raymore Parks. So part of the discussion came about as well. City Council came up with this. We don't necessarily want to tread on what they've decided to do. Because it talks about in all outdoors arenas, stadiums, skate parks, ball fields, amphitheaters. Well, they don't have to be ours. You know, somebody privately could come up with that. If we replace section 2, then that allows smoking in those locations. So the thought is make it a section 4 that's specifically just talking about our park areas only.
I understand.
Yep.
I thought we were going to eliminate everything on the top of the page.
No.
And just have
No. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then one thing that we talked about previously was if we say, you know, it's allowed in the parking lot, then we kind of run up against but right up against, you know, the fields. So does this then say you have to be 100 feet from the fields, but you can still be in the parking lot, but you can't be, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
It's
you
still
still have to be 100 feet from the fields?
That's correct.
Okay, so you can be in the parking lot, but you can't be in the parking lot that's within 100 feet of the fields. That'd be my only clarification that we need.
Yeah. And now that I say that, which one takes precedence?
See, I have a question too. It's all these things, outdoor arenas, stadiums, skate parks, ball fields, amphitheaters, 100 feet from any seating areas or concession stands. Aren't those, you know, bleachers and grandstands, aren't those all park facilities?
Yeah. But doesn't mean it couldn't be.
But I don't think we can legislate a private type facility that has, say, like the thing over in Martin City, that has outdoor volleyball. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? All right. I don't think a municipality could legislate an outdoor facility for no smoking. Now, they could, the restaurant and the bar area, but I don't think they could, Brian. I don't think they could say you can't smoke in those areas.
Well, and I don't think they do today because you can have an outdoor area at a restaurant and be able to smoke out there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I did number 2 is just for us, and that's what I kind of thought number
Yeah.
2 was, is just for us.
Go ahead, sir.
I think, John, what the issue is that the city council passed this ordinance. And all we're trying to do is specifically address the parks. Whether or not number 2 included private property or a private venue, it's not our domain. It doesn't fall within our domain. We don't have, ours is only the parks, and we just want to be specifically clear on the designation of smoking there. Now, number 2, as it was brought up as being within 100 feet, yes, I think that also can extend into the park as far as the restriction goes. For example, it was if you're on the paid parking area in the city park, and it happens to be well within 100 feet of a ball field, then number 2 would also can be acted on in that accord. So someone would just have to move about 2 lanes over or 3 parking spaces to start smoking.
See, and that's where I see the problem, Bill. I think then you're really getting, you're trying to define more specifically within like a parking lot, whereas if you just say you can't smoke in parking lot, or you can smoke in parking lots, but because like the tennis courts, for example, that's within 100 feet. Field 11 is within 100 feet of the parking lot. It's going to extend partway out into that parking lot.
Well, the thing is, that doesn't mean the smoker's gonna be within 100 feet. He could be at the other end of that same parking lot smoking there.
But how are we going to designate that?
Well, I think that only comes up if it becomes an issue. You know, if it's not an issue and we don't have someone who says, hey, I don't want someone, I can't abide this person smoking there, then it can be addressed. And the way it would be addressed is, first, are they in a city park? Number 2, are they in a designated paved parking area? And number 3, if it comes down to further refining that, are they within 100 feet? Then that can be, then we can take, that issue can be addressed. But I think what we need to do is add as far as the city parks go, I think that should be number 4. And not address any other part of the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but we have to make it clear. I mean, that's my only thing, is you have 2 competing statements, you know, so you have to, you know, if you want to add a comma and a but, you know, you have to be outside the 100 feet, you know. I mean, you can do that, but you need, to me, it needs to be clear and concise, and right now, it's muddy.
Mr. Haddock?
I'm gonna make a motion not to stop this, but to continue this, and I'm gonna try to address what you're saying. I think I'm agreeing with what everybody's saying. So I move that we revise this by striking the proposed new policy, you know, number 2, and change it to number 4. So everybody understands we wanna add a new number 4. And then at the end of A, I wanna put paved parking areas within park boundaries, comma, unless otherwise excluded above, or something to that effect. Okay, so that's my, and I'm not picky on that language. That's my motion if somebody cares to second it.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Discussion. Any discussion?
I do, yeah. Good Bill.
Mr. Manson?
Okay, that's acceptable. What I would probably say is paved parking areas within park boundaries, except where it possibly conflicts with number 2.
I'll second that
Yeah.
amendment.
That's what you said.
Not exactly.
Well, I like his words better. He's saying, yeah, I like.
You have to make the
Well,
motion.
except where it conflicts with, I'm gonna assume that's addressed as an Article 2 of Section 270.050. In words, there's permitted smoking in the paid parking areas of city parks within park boundaries, except where it conflicts with Section 2 of the same or Article 2 of the same section.
What about the, Mr. Chairman, what about the possibility of adding while observing the exceptions of 1 and 2, to add the 100-foot exception to paved parking areas and park boundaries that might attend to the cases where we abut, in terms of distance, a playing field or a practice field. In other words, put the 100-foot restriction everywhere and account for those.
So I understand what you're saying. Your language is a little off, but I get what you're saying.
Well, yeah, I concede my language.
So we'll need an amendment to that, I think, if we want to change it.
Well, he may.
But,
Not official, you know.
yeah, but if I look, if you read the language, it's within 100 distance of an entrance, 100 feet of an entrance. What constitutes an entrance? All right, if you look at Field 11 in Rec Park, yeah, there's a trail that goes in there, but is that the entrance to the fields? It's subjective. Second, it says the other one is within 100 feet of any seating area or concession stands. You could stand outside, you can go 100 feet away and be out in the middle of left field smoking within 2 feet of the fence out there. If you want to be technical.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
what is the ultimate goal?
We're going to limit parking, limit smokes to parking.
Okay. Limit smoking in the park, in facilities, but we felt that we probably couldn't legislate it out of people's private vehicles or in the parking lots. At least that was our discussion previously. So that's kind of why I wrote what I wrote. That, you know, since everything in number 2 already talks about parks, let's just make it real simple and say you can smoke in the parking lots, but you can't smoke anywhere else. You know, and I know some of those are within 100 feet, but it's outside. And
I agree with Mr. Kennedy. We're going to nitpick and we're going to find every what-if scenario to try to eliminate everything.
I agree. I think we should just do it as proposed. I think we're making it too complicated, and we're just muddying the waters.
Okay, well, hang on. We got a motion on the table. Yes, ma'am.
I totally forgot what I was gonna say, it was so important.
Okay, Mr. Haddock.
No, I was just saying, we do have a motion on the table. If we want to vote on it or amend it.
Or withdraw.
Yeah, or, yeah, and is it still time for discussion?
Yeah?
Okay, so we're not, you know, number one, I'll remind everybody, we're not making policy. We're not changing the law tonight, right? That's what we learned.
We
All
can't.
we're doing is making a recommendation.
That is correct.
You know, so number one. Number two is, I personally do not care if we make this change number 2 or add number 4. It doesn't matter to me as a park board member. Maybe it matters to me as a private citizen, but, you know, sitting here as a park board member, I think either one achieves the goal of this board. So, I mean, I'm even up for sending it to the council and letting them decide. We want this language in there. If you choose to strike, you know, item 2 and replace it with this, that's fine. If you choose to add it as item 4, that's fine. But, you know, it's just not important.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to give clear direction to the city council what a recommendation is, not have them decide. I think we need to decide as a board what recommendation we're gonna make about smoking policy in the parks and make it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank the Lord I remembered what I was going to ask. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So when you were, Mr. Kennedy, when you were speaking earlier, you said, you know, in their vehicle, but we're not concerned about that. We're not concerned if they're inside their vehicle, outside their vehicle. It doesn't matter as long as they're in the parking lot. We don't care. Is that my understanding?
yes,
Okay.
Okay. Set your hand up.
No, it's just that,
We need to make a motion.
we get,
no,
I mean, we need to take a vote. We still have unless, does anybody else want to talk? Okay, the motion exists. The motion is to approve the new policy by, replacing number 2 with 4. And, statement A would say paved parking areas within park boundaries with the exception of, or was it exclusion of,
Unless otherwise excluded above, I think is what I was trying to say.
there you go. Yeah, it's probably not right, but it's getting late. I'm getting tired. Okay, so all in favor?
I guess I made it, so I'll vote for it.
This is in favor of amending it to say what you just said, correct?
That's right.
Is that, sorry to interrupt, but is that you said to amend number 2. Are you wanting to amend number 2 or change it as a number 4 option?
That is it.
Okay.
That was a
that's
motion. It's not an amendment, it's a motion.
Okay.
Because there has been no
Because you
amendment.
said number 2, you did not say number 4. I'm sorry.
To change number 2 to 4.
Okay. I just want to clarify
So,
on the proposal. So please,
Add
we
the
might want to
policy.
reread that.
Add yes.
Yes,
To add,
please
to recommend this to city council, the proposed new policy to make this number 4 Item A, paved parking areas within boundaries with the exception of the items above.
Unless otherwise excluded above.
That.
So that would be 4A, 4 and 4A.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm taking a vote. Okay, I'm gonna retake this vote again now that we all know what it says.
Understand.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Are you doing both? Are you in favor or opposed?
No, I'm in favor.
Okay,
Of
this
this
is,
being number 4.
yes, this is
Right.
opposed. Okay.
Yes, actually, we're.
Motion passes.
Jim, send me the language, would you?
You want me to write it? Do you have a piece of paper, that piece of paper? Okay.
Then I don't have that. Or I can see it on the board. I can actually see it.
Did you get that language down, Mr. Kennedy? Did you get the language down?
Do you want to,
yeah.
you guys want to look at it to make sure?
He's
No, because
writing
they
it.
already voted, it's passed, but I need it.
Yeah, but I just read it, I just wrote it, make sure that it says what
Can see
you
it.
voted on.
Okay. Item D. That passed.
Okay.
Any, board member comments this evening? Any board member comments this evening? Yes, Mr. Castleman.
Something came up in our parliamentary discussion. I think it's a point, you mentioned it there, Brian, that we probably should, as a body, determine the order of succession. If, God forbid, the chairman and vice chairman is not present, they should put in writing that will be a vote.
Yes. There is not. We can get some language added and brought forth to go over. Yeah, bylaw change. Anything else? Any other comments?
Thanks. I'll just say that I got a lot of people when I was at the festival asking about disc golf. Everybody wanted to talk about disc golf.
Yeah.
Broken record.
I'll echo that sentiment. A lot of people asked about it and said, "Oh, that's neat. Yeah, no, I like that. That's good." I also had a lot of comments about dog park, but
I did as well, and some of them were very pro, and some were very anti. It was very.
So the two other pieces of feedback while we're on that I heard in the short time I was there is, we should try to get this golf course off the Hawk Ridge map. And I know we've got a pretty map, but or at least put a big yellow sticky on it the next time we use it, say, rec park.
I will take care of that. I can do that very easily.
Yeah, whatever. And then, the other thing is, one of our reasons for going into executive session is real estate matters.
yeah.
So I guess the implication is that should be private. So it was kind of conspicuous that we have the farmer's market area, the original town park that we always talk about, and it includes a block for an expansion that's still private. It's conspicuous to me that you've got, that's a future development area of a piece of private property there. So I don't know, I would suggest we not advertise that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Post office, where the old post office is.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah.
But we also put parks in all of our master plans. We got it all over this tonight, and it's not ours yet. Developments, and this is where we're gonna put stuff, and it's not ours yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if it becomes available and it's an option, it's a plan.
Brian, let me ask you, Jim, in the years past, when we were eventually going to acquire Hawk Ridge Park, we were looking at other pieces of real estate, and that did not need to be advertised because prices would change, things would come on the market that were not on the market, and we wanted to control a static price at that time. So if the news got out that the park board was looking for possible pieces of property for a community center or whatever, prices would be inflated.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I did happen to meet the man that owned that land,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he was, kind of like, oh, I'd be very interested in talking to the park board about, selling his property. I'm like, I'm thinking since, it's, as Sheldon said, it's right out there that we would, so that was kind of awkward conversation.
Well, it doesn't mean we'd buy it at whatever it took,
No, but
Okay, any other comments this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to have everybody, and I'm sure I don't know how many people are watching. Today is Fall Prevention Day, Falls Prevention Day. I'm addressing myself specifically to the people who can't walk very well, i.e. older people. And so there's two things that I would like them to realize, that inside a house you fall very easily if the lighting is poor. In corridors or anywhere up the stairs, and if they have stairs, to make sure that they know that they have to handle the handrail. And the second thing is that if they have rugs on the floor, such as in bathrooms or in kitchens, would they make sure that they don't slide all over the place? That's the two areas that elderly will fall. And I can't give you the numbers. I looked it up, but I can't remember them for the moment. There's a lot of people that fall in 1 year. And very often when you're in your late 70s, 80s, many people don't survive 2 years after a fall. So today is Falls Prevention Day, but the whole month of October is also Fall Prevention Month, Falls Prevention Month. I just wanted to
Thank
share
you.
that with you.
Words of wisdom, words of wisdom. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I move we
Oh,
adjourn.
Do I have a second?
second.
Oh, sorry.
I have a motion and a second.
We'll get this all right.
All in favor? Unanimous. We're adjourned.
%50 off at Papa John's tomorrow.